Okay, let's start lying down. That should sound really good to everybody. Okay, so find a space on the floor. Keep the knees bent for now and just arrive. Put a little pillow underneath your head. If you feel your chin is really far away from your sternum. So rather we want to try and actually make the neck, the front and the back of the neck evenly long. It's actually a really cool concept because even we can apply this to our shoulders and into our hips, that the front and the back are just evenly wide or evenly broad, long, short. That's what Mr. Pilates, I feel, meant with balanced muscle development. Close your eyes and just observe. Maybe even straighten the legs if that feels good to you for your back. If that causes some discomfort in your low back, bend the knees. But if straight legs are good, go for it. So balanced muscle development. I want to elaborate just a little bit about this while you're laying here on the floor and just closing your eyes and arriving from everywhere you're coming from. And yeah, if our muscles are appropriately strong, the front and the back, the benders and the flexors, and the extensors and the flexors, benders are flexors, then we're using minimal amount of effort in our bodies to stand up, to walk around, and to do other things. If we're slightly, one side is tighter, or one side is stronger, the other side is weaker, then we're already having to compensate for that just to even stand upright. So that's basically the gist of things. So what I want to look into today is, my major plan was back body, because we're all a little too loose in the back body and a little too tight in the front body. But we're also going to take a nice look again, as always, into our hips. So taking a moment, feeling where things are, what's touching the floor, what's not touching the floor. The lumbar spine should be slightly lifted. There's a little space behind your knees. There's a little space behind your neck. That would be pretty ideal. If you feel like that your ribs are pushing up, that there's only maybe your upper back touching the floor, that's where we want to come in, and we're going to work on that for sure. So, all right, let's bend the knees, and you have your feet flat on the floor. And we're finding our hip. Hips are everything. The hips are our basis for the base for the spine, that the spine grows out of or reaches out of, and our hips are the anchor point for our legs. So everything depends on our hips. Okay. So checking in, how does your pelvis feel like? And we're gonna go to the wagon wheels. I've talked about this before. If you've never heard it, here are the wagon wheels. We have two hip bones, right and the left one, and we have a sacrum in the middle that basically is connected with ligaments and tendons and then muscles to hold the hip bones in line and together. So the hip bones are wheels, big wheels, and the sacrum is the axle between the wheels. And right now the wheels might be a little bit crooked. And that's not a negative judgment. It's just kind of how our pelvises could be. And so we're going to think about those wheels. We see them in our mind's eye. We're visualizing wheels. And we're going to visualize them becoming parallel and very well aligned with each other. Taking a little moment here and just feeling, thinking about it. If you can see it in your head, if you can produce the story in your head, you can get it in your body. It's pretty cool. And so here are the wheels. They're starting to slowly move a little bit. And there's nothing that you're going to do with your brain. You're just putting the picture of perfect parallel wheels into your head. And that's what we have. We're thinking about parallel wagon wheels that are your pelvis. And there might be some shifting going on and a little bit of movement, and maybe you want to wiggle around. This is nothing that you can wiggle into, unfortunately. This is more something that you have to allow to happen. And the more you think about the wheels and the perfect alignment, the parallel aspects of every I wanted to say every corner of your wheel, the circumference of your wheel, the more it's going to happen. And now we could take an hour here finding wagon wheels, but we're of course we're not going to do that. And already I'm sure by thinking about the wheels and visualizing the alignment, you will have made a drastic change in your pelvis. So here we go. We're going to take the wheels wherever they are, the more parallel, the better. And we're going to hook them into the axle, into your sacrum, where they're just coming a little closer together to snap in. And here's our one part of our wagon. And we're going to slowly start to just roll the pelvis forward and backward, our anterior posterior tilt. The sits bones getting to be heavy. They're dropping. This is our forward tilt. Anterior, 6 o'clock. And then we're going to allow, and you're going to really think about the wheels here. We're letting them move together. They're moving all the way together, forward and backward. It's not a huge movement, but check in. Are your wheels doing the same thing at the same time? And I can always notice that my right side is always a little more stuck than my left side. Maybe it's your left side that's a little more stuck. And it's not about necessarily forcefully unsticking it, but I would say let the fast side catch up with the slow side. We want to honor the tightness. We want to honor the slower side. We want to honor the stuck side because it's stuck for a reason. It's mostly stuck to protect. I would argue it's always stuck to protect. Let's do it one more time into our anterior tilt and letting that slow side just be the way it is today. And then letting the pelvis tilt one more time towards you. Letting the low back come down into the ground. And then let's release the pelvis into the neutral, which would be, there's neither an anterior nor posterior tilt, just be. Checking in. And then let's slowly start to do a little bit of bridging. So the feet are parallel, they're about sits bone distance apart. You can go closer if that feels good. Closer is more challenging for sure. You can keep your big toes all the way touching, but we don't have to go there just yet. We're going to start to pull the feet down into the ground. We're going to pull the shoulders down into the ground and find already. So this is So we're doing the back body hip combination today. It's a great combination. You're going to pull the shoulders and the feet into the ground, and notice, hopefully, as that your hamstrings and your glutes and maybe even your triceps start to turn on. Don't lift just yet. Then let the pelvis, let everything release. So we're starting with very, very strong pulling. The back body is made for pulling, rowing, climbing up on something, hanging from something is, and we don't even, most people don't even use their arms to close the trunk of their car. You have a button now, right? So when do we ever pull something? Garage doors, we don't pull them anymore. Whatever it is. So we're pulling our shoulders and our feet into the ground, and notice how the pelvis gets to be a little lighter. Now, are your wagon wheels still there? Feel if there's one hip that already wants to lift more than the other. So we'll even that out. Keep pulling with your shoulders, feet, and then release. And then on the next one, we're gonna go up into a little bridge. So feet pull. Make sure all of your toes are heavy on the ground. They're grabbing onto the floor. And here we go. We're lifting the pelvis up. Now, is the pelvis still in that neutral or maybe a slightly forward 6 o'clock tilt? Work your shoulders. Drop the rib cage. My pants are still touching the floor. Don't worry about how high your pelvis goes. Less is more here. Find your breath. Can you breathe back into the kidneys, into the lower back, into all of your ribs in the back posteriorly? What happened to the knees? Did the knees separate? The big toe still heavy? And then lower your pelvis down. So what we're doing is we're starting to challenge the stability of the pelvis in various shapes and forms, right? We're going to go again. We're going to pull the shoulders down into the ground, sits bones heavy, kidneys heavy, and we're going to lift the pelvis. And maybe your pelvis is lifting a little bit more than before, but we're not leading with the rib cage. We're really just hooking the feet and the shoulders into the ground and let the rib cage hang like a little hammock. And then because you're working your legs so much more, it's very tricky. Also pay attention, is one foot working harder than the other? Are both feet evenly working? Maybe you shifted already slightly off to one side. And we want to not baby one side, especially if there's an injury in there. Lower the pelvis back down. Most of us have a dominant leg, be it through injury or just a strategy that you use every day. I stand more on my right leg. I know that I do it, so I have to almost say, hey, left leg, come to the party. Do it again. Shoulders pull down, sits bones heavy, kidneys heavy, pull with your feet. And then check in which leg does not want to work. Shift a little bit more onto that leg and let the hamstrings and the glutes show up here. Find the breath. Can you lift the pelvis a little higher by moving your knees slightly more over your second and third toes? It's a shifting that's happening, our pelvis shifting towards the feet, and then lower the pelvis down. Now take a moment, straighten the legs, and already check in. We need to check in more, I feel like. It's the nervous system needs to get to be a little more on board. And us checking in between exercises, I see now with clients that I see in the studio, the change is happening so much quicker and it's so much more lasting. So allowing for the nervous system to integrate what we just did. Wow, maybe my back is heavier. Maybe my ribs feel a little more open actually, because we just extended the pelvis. We did hip extension on contrary to sitting a lot. All right, let's add a little bit on. Feet can be fairly close together. They don't have to touch yet again. And you're going to pull back up into your pelvic lift. Sits bones stay heavy, kidneys heavy, work your shoulders, and let's just move the pelvis a little bit side to side. We call this a sassy hip. We're going to go a little bit to the right. Notice the right foot is working hard, and we're going to go a little bit to the left. Keep hanging through the kidneys. Keep pulling with your back body, feet, shoulders, hamstrings, glutes. Slowly shifting side to side. So the pelvis is now not tipping. It's staying wagon wheeled, really, right? If you think about my wheels are parallel, my pelvic halves are parallel to each other, they will be. And you're going to shift and shift. We also call this the typewriter hips for people who remember typewriters, the old-fashioned ones specifically. Noticing hamstrings are really challenged. Keep pulling shoulders, keep dropping your kidneys. We'll go one more time each side. Big time typewriter hips today, but we're going to use that later. And then lower the pelvis in the center. Straighten your legs one more time. Check it out. Okay. Now, last thing we're going to do here in the bridging, feet now really close together. The big toes are touching. The heels are slightly apart. Find your wagon wheels. Find that slight anterior tilt in the pelvis, that weight tilt. Work your shoulders. Pull them down into the ground and lift the pelvis up. Sits bones heavy, kidneys heavy. We're going to typewriter to the right. Sassy right hip. Make sure your right big toe is heavy, kidneys are heavy, and pick up the left foot just a little bit. Lower the left foot down, shift the pelvis to the left. Now notice, do you have a bigger ability to go to the left? So rein that in. Or maybe your right side was way more able going to the right. Switch sides, and then don't let that right side go so far out. We're honoring the tight side. I think it's what I'm gonna call this class today. We're honoring the tightness. We're gonna go back to the left. Rein it in if it's the mobile one. Keep that big toe heavy. Watch out for the knee. Let the muscles show up. We'll do one more time each side. Show up to do their job to pull yet hold. Maybe you're reaching your left leg up to the ceiling. Keep dropping through the kidneys. Lower the left foot back down, right next to the right foot. Shift the pelvis to the left. Make sure you're keeping that left big toe, left knee aligned, right foot lifts. Maybe reach it up to the ceiling. Give the hamstrings a little length here. Feels quite good. Lower the right foot back down, shift back to the center and release the pelvis and lower everything, straighten your legs. And just take a little moment here and feel that. I'd argue there's probably way more length in your back body. Length meaning actually settling, and length in the front body. So we're just able to touch the floor just much better. All right. Now let's turn onto the side. We're basically kind of reversing a little bit what we're usually doing. Because why not? Okay. Hips are stacked, find your wagon wheels. Sits bones back, kidneys back, my knees are stacked, my feet are stacked, and we're going to do our little clamshell. Now, hugging that left hip a little bit forward, you can use your hand here, that's good, because the hip wants to roll back. We're going to pick up the knee only. Notice if the foot wants to do something. Try not to let the foot help you. This is a very small lift. And especially if you've had some hip issues, not looking at you, Yana, we all have had some sort of hip issues, I'd argue. You're going to make sure that the hip is not moving. And we're going to, maybe the effort is lift your knee 1 inch off. Yeah, that's the task today. I'm going to lift my knee 1 inch off the bottom knee, just the knee. And if we allow for ourselves to make it a little smaller, I think, our brain is kind of quite happy with a smaller movement. Lifting and lowering. Now you should really feel this in the buttocks, in the glute on the left, deep in the glute, deep under the glute muscles. Let's do 2. Make sure that hip stays. Watch out what the kidneys want to do. Do they want to arch up? Can I keep the kidneys soft? And back. And this should be quite the effort here. And lower down. Now we're going to find a little mouse house here so that I can put my left hand here underneath my floating ribs. I'm not pushing the ribs down. I'm going to just give a little lift here and I'm going to pick up the left leg. It's not about lifting the hip to drop the mouse house. We can keep that mouse house. We're just going to lift up. Are your hips still wagon wheeled? Can you lift the leg just about to the height, the leg to the height of your hip? We don't have to go really far because the further up we go, the more room for error there is. Just lifting gluteus medius. This is our big hip supporter. It really holds the hip bone and the thigh bone. And then as it shortens, the thigh bone lifts. And as the leg lowers, it lengthens. But we need it for stability, standing on one leg, walking, running, anything that has to do with single leg life. And that's life, really. Okay, on the next one, we're going to do our internal rotation. Hold it there for a moment. Keep a little bend in the left knee. You're going to bend the knee again and lower down. Let it release all the way. It's going to start to get toasty here. Pick up the leg again. Turn the leg, turn the knee, turn the foot. Use the glute. Kidneys soften back. Bend the knee and lower down. In a way, it's a bit of a kick, right? A little rotation, little pow. Heel is reaching. We're not reaching the toes. We're really flexing the foot. One more time after this. And last one, lift, glute medius, internal rotation. Hold the leg here for a moment. Find your breath. Let it get toasty here. It's getting toasty. Breathe here. Notice if your leg wants to hyperextend and where the work goes, where the effort goes. Keep that knee slightly bent. Bend the knee and lower down. Oh yeah. Roll onto your back and just check it out. Feel how that left leg probably is more relaxed. That left hip, the leg is able to turn out a little bit more than the right leg. Maybe your left side feels longer than your right side. And that's exactly what we're looking for. Okay, you can turn over to the other side. I'm just going to flip around. I have some sun in my face. That's great. Okay, so here we go. Doing the other side. My hips are stacked. Find your wagon wheels. Sits bones back, kidneys back. And again, the brief is we're lifting the knee an inch. And keeping the feet really relaxed. Maybe you lift 2 inches, right? But don't It's not about lifting the knee up to the ceiling. Very much not. Knee reaches slightly. Make sure that top hip is not rolling back in space. Maybe we'll do 3 more. How much turn can you get into the joint? Into the joint here, but you're going to feel it back because that's where the muscles sit that pull the leg into external rotation. One more time. Can you feel it in the buttocks? That should be a yes. Now, keeping a little mouse house, I'm going to pick up the leg and lower back down. So the gluteus medius is contracting, it's shortening to lift the leg and slowly lower. We always want to work all 3 aspects. We want to work the shortening of the muscle, the isometric, the holding, and then the slow elongation, the elongation under load. And that's really the elongation under load, the eccentric contraction is, according to research, making us a better muscle, a stronger muscle. So if you always just move slow, contrary to what you think you should be moving, or, slow bicep release is better than 25 quick bicep curls. Pretty cool. We're going to turn the leg and reach it. Keep the kidneys back. Watch out what the knee wants to do. Is your foot really cramping? Are your toes, or the foot should be really relaxed here. Bending the knee and lower down. And lift. Glute medius shortens. Internal rotators shorten, external rotators and glutes lengthen. But we're not just letting them go. You feel your glute a lot. We'll do 3 more here. How far back can you get the leg without arching your back or bending your knee? That is really tricky. But every time your leg goes back, you should be feeling, or just even straightens down, you should be feeling a little bit of glute activity. And one more time. And we're going to hold it there. So here we go. Isometric. Can I be breathing? Can I not freak out? Can I deal a little bit with the toastiness, with the maybe a tiny bit of pain in there because the muscles start to get tired, right? Can I deal with that effectively? And then bend the knee, lower the leg down, and roll onto your back. Straighten both legs. Oh yeah. Wow. This always blows my mind. This is such a simple exercise, and it's such a huge difference. Very good. So one more thing we're going to do here before we're coming up to sitting, we're going to do a little bridging combination. We've done this where we're basically doing a little bit of a side to side rotation with the pelvis, but in our bridge, and we're going to add again our pull with our shoulders. So feet are not too close together, maybe like just hip distance, 5-6 inches apart. And you're going to pull heels with shoulders, make sure the big toes are heavy. And then let's go for a little higher lift here, but see if you can keep your ribs and kidneys as heavy as possible. You might not be in this anterior tilt, but not trying to tuck the pelvis, obviously. We're trying to stay as neutral and as forward as possible. And then let's go to the right and gonna pull your right shoulder down into the floor. You can pick up the left heel a little bit. Hang your kidneys. And then let's lift the pelvis through the center, and then going to go over to the left, pull that left arm down. Maybe the right heel lifts, hang your kidneys, work your hamstrings, pull the feet or the toes, Going back to the right, down into the floor, moving the pelvis. This could be the tiniest little baby bridge again, but we're moving side to side, side to side. Side to side is really important because that's walking, right? We need to be able to move the pelvis, and we'll do that in a second, in all different kinds of planes. Let's do one more time each side. Keep pulling with your shoulders. Find your breath. Maybe stay on the right side here and lift the left arm up. Maybe your head turns, you look to the right. Maybe you're rolling all the way onto your right arm. Keep pulling that arm down into the ground, though. Come to center, go to the left. Maybe your left arm pulls down so much that you're just weight bearing on your left outer foot and your left arm. Come to center, lower it down. Check it out one more time. And then slowly come up so you can do a roll up. Coming up to sitting. And then put your hands behind you. And we're going to go right way back into a little bit more pulling. Now, this is good for anybody. If you have an issue with your wrist here, well, I would say if you have issues with your shoulders, this might not feel so good. You can always omit it, but I feel like everybody on right now should be good. You're going to squeeze the shoulders together. So here is our little ode to extension. Shoulders squeeze together, sits bones drop away, and then kidneys are heavy. We're going to look up, grab on with your fingers to the floor, grab on with your toes to the floor, and then see if you can lift your pelvis up just a little bit. Breathing here. Are your wagon wheels still with you? And then lower the pelvis down. Let the shoulders relax a little bit, then squeeze them back together. Pull your feet, lift the pelvis up. Breathing here, big toes really heavy. Notice if your knees want to go wide. Can you bring the knees so your feet are the legs are parallel to each other? And then maybe we're going to shift a little bit forward and backward. Slight bend in your elbows. Keep pulling with your feet and your hands into the floor. I don't care how high your pelvis lifts, but I care that your knees are not going wide and that your elbows are slightly bent. Lower the pelvis down. Maybe roll out the wrists, shake out. And we'll go one more time. Now you can do either the little lift, you can do the lift with the shift. I'm going to add a little on just in case. So we're coming up into that reverse table or leg pull front position for Pilates. And we'll see maybe we can shift onto one hand and just lift the pelvis, keep the pelvis lifted, but lift the other arm up. So this is, again, you have to shift with the hip, more weight on my left foot as I'm on my left hand, and then I'm shifting to the right, and here's more weight on my right foot and on my right hand. One more time each side. Keep grabbing on with your hands to the floor if you're doing this. If you're doing the other two, be here, breathe, work your hands, squeeze the shoulders, and then lower your pelvis, and just lower one more time, all the way down. Oh boy, that feels so good. I don't know if you can feel it, but my ribs are just, they're so relaxed. They're actually really now coming to the floor. Deep. Excellent. All right, so let's come up to standing. You can do a roll up again, because why not? Or you can roll over to your side. And then very creatively coming up. And I think I'm going to move my camera this way today. Just trying to play around with the light here. I don't even know if this is any better. Yeah, maybe. Okay. All right. So you're going to just see my pelvis, my legs, my feet, because that's important. So here we go. We're going to come into a parallel position, feet slightly internally rotated. And we're going to bend the knees and just already find what does that mean for my legs? Because usually we stand very hyperextended. Most people do. And that shuts out our legs. So knees bend. And then we're going to send the sits bones a little bit back. And that's going to get your hands to come a little more forward. So noticing that as the sits bones come back, your upper body is just going to curve a slight bit forward. And that's good. Excuse me. Oh my God. I'm going to show the side. So this is how we kind of are trained to stand. And this is how I'd like for us to stand a little more. The pockets of pants are here. They're not here. That should give you an indicator, right? Okay, so knees bent, feet parallel, and we're going to push. We're going to push the earth to the left. We're going to shift to the right. So here we go. This is our typewriter hips. Can I keep my wagon wheels for now and just shift side to side? The knees are always slightly bent. The big toes are really heavy, especially of the standing leg. Push the earth to the left. You're shifting to the right. Now, one thing I want to show what happens a lot is that actually the rib cage is going this way to the right. So we want to actually keep the ribs slightly behind the pelvis on the movement scale, or not moving at all. The head is really not moving at all. And this is a great thing you can practice in front of a mirror. Am I shifting side to side? Or is my upper body shifting side to side? And that is, and I'm gonna just create awareness for you when you go through the, walk around next or drive around and see if people walk like this. You'll be amazed. We don't want to walk like this. We're going to walk like this. So the hip is moving, the head is not moving. Very nice. So we're going to go over to the right. We're going to stay on the right and we're going to pick up the left heel. Is your head and rib cage, are they still there, or is something else happening right now? Heel lifting, that's all it takes. Shifting over to the left, lift your heel. And then push the earth to the left, shifting onto your right leg, sassy hip. Now, if the right side is your more mobile side, rein her in a little bit. And by reining in, it's really just saying, I'm not going to go as far as I can go. And you're going to feel, I can guarantee you, your glutes are showing up more. And we're going to go to the left. And we're going to rein in, if that's the mobile side, rein in your left side. One more time each side. Now you can keep doing this. Now, if you really want to say, hey, I'll challenge it a little more, keeping that knee slightly bent. You grab on with your toes to the floor. And maybe you have a chair here. Ideally, of course, we're going to do this without a chair because we're not walking with chairs or walkers or something. We're going to challenge balance. Sassy hip on the other side. Big toe is heavy. And we're going to move around here. Breathing. And then coming back to center and release. Oh my God, I just see the squirrel out there. Oh my God. Oh my God. Ah! I have a squirrel in the garden and it's eating everything. All right, sorry. All right, let's step the right foot forward, left foot back. We still have a little bit of, we still have our wagon wheels, but now we're going to challenge them a little bit more because life does not happen within the wagon wheels. So we're shifting forward into the right foot and we're going to take that right hip a little forward. And then we're going to shift into the back foot and take the left hip a little back. So here's the sassy hip. The right foot shifts forward and the right hip gets to be sassy. And then we're shifting back. So now I'm going diagonal instead of side to side, left to right. I'm basically going 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock, if you think about that. So it's not 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock. It's 1 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 6:30, 7:30. Shifting forward and shifting back. And shifting forward. Hips slightly forward and shifting back. So that's one part of walking, right? That's one part of walking. Now we're going to do the other side. We're going to go ahead and take the left foot forward, right foot back. We're going to shift forward with the left hip. And we're going to shift back with the right hip. And diagonally forward. And shifting back. And forward. And back. Keep doing this. This is healing your hips. Last set. Sits bone back. Here's our little hip. Sassy hip, and then we're shifting forward. Beautiful. So now we're going to do one more thing that's going to be a little more challenging. Let's step the right foot forward again. So we're going to go into our sassy left hip. Slight turn out in the foot. And let's see if we can chamber or pick up that right foot. Rein in that hip. Work that left hip. Maybe you're just lifting your heel up, right? That's an option. And then step out of this. I'm checking on my squirrel. It's not my squirrel. Sorry. I'm so obsessed. And then let's do the other side. Right foot back, left foot forward. So here's our sassy right hip, sassy chamber left leg, and work that right hip. Lots. Breathing here. Maybe you're just lifting the foot a little bit. One thing we don't want to do is go sideways as we're lifting the leg up, right? And release. Very good. All right, let's come into a forward bend. Knees bend. Feet are parallel. Put your feet on the ground, and we're just going to shift. Put your fingertips on the ground. We're going to shift a little forward and backward. Let the head be heavy and hang. And feel and notice how the hamstrings come on, especially as we start to lift the kidneys a little more and grab on with your toes to the floor. The more active your foot, the better. The more work for your legs, the more support for your knees. And then come back to your feet only. Let the head be heavy, pull the feet into the ground, and slowly round yourself up. Keep the sits bones slightly deep and the knees slightly bent. And then come all the way up and shake it out. So I want to do a little bit. We're going to go one more time into the forward backward because I want to show you a nice little, we always do the seated cat and cow, but I do want to do the standing, and not really cat and cow, but it's a nice back body, and it kind of goes right into what we actually just did with the pelvis. So here we go. My right foot is forward, left foot is slightly back. And I'm going to pull the feet down into the floor, and just standing here and pulling the feet behind you, or trying to drag the rug behind you, you should start to feel activity in your leg. And that activity of pulling the feet back is actually propelling the pelvis forward. Hope you can notice that. Now we're pushing the feet forward, the rug forward, and we're going to shift back. Knee is bent. We're going to pull the feet into the ground and forward. Squeeze the shoulders a little bit, maybe look up. There's our 1 o'clock, 1:30 hip. And then we're going to push the feet into the floor and back. And here we sit in our 7 o'clock hip. Pushing forward, squeeze the shoulders, keep the kidneys back. Trying to get your pelvis as far in front as you can without arching your lower back. So the kidneys, the diaphragm stays really deep and back. Maybe your chin lifts up, maybe your heart lifts up a little bit more. And then we go one more time back. And release. Now we'll do the other side. Left foot is in front. I'll just turn around. And we're going to go, it's just starting out. And you can, this is even an exercise you can do standing at the grocery store. You can just stand and pull the floor behind you. That's right there. Instant work. So I'm pulling the floor behind me. My pelvis is coming forward. Both glutes are on. I'm going to keep the kidneys back. And for that brain to let the head go back, that's actually once quite a bit. Maybe your head does not go back very far. We're going to push. And we're going to pull. Feet pull behind, kidneys back, squeeze the shoulders slightly together. Maybe your heart lifts, maybe your chin lifts. Keep pulling in the feet. So we have that engagement in the back body. It's basically our bridge. You can see that, right? It's back body, pull. We're going to push the hands, push the feet forward. You can push your hands forward as well. Here's my chamber, my right sassy typewriter hip. I'm going to pull. Let's do this one more time. Push. Maybe that left leg lifts even. And pull. And release. Okay, very good. So the legs should have gotten a little workout here. Now, one more thing we're going to do here, standing. We're going to do little baby squats, and they're also good for everybody. Big squats are even better, but we'll got to start somewhere. Let's step the right foot forward again. And the only thing you really have to pay attention to with your squats is where your knees are going. We're going to do little baby bends. And the baby bend could be this big. Let's just do five baby squats here. And your baby squat is whatever it is. My back foot is slightly turned out here. You can turn the foot forward, but turn also your knee forward. You can make this a wide step. You can make this a narrow step. So do about 5 here. And then let's switch to the other side. Left foot is in front, right foot slightly turned out. And bending and extending. Now, where are your kidneys? Where are your sits bones? Can you keep them both yielding back in space? Your legs should be starting to get a bit tired. Maybe you can, change your foot position every time a little bit. About 5. So this is a great starting point. You can just, I'd say 50 of those a day. That's a good number. Or 10, you know, whatever you can do. Now, I want to just though start and make this a little bit bigger. So for everybody, and we've done asymmetrical forward bends. So you can see if we can go, and this is, again, our hips are pretty wagon wheeled here. Can I forward bend and squat down, and maybe you're shifting a little bit more back onto the back leg. Could put your feet, fingertips back on the floor, shift forward, and then we can slowly round ourselves up. Take your time, right? We're going to round, bend. And then as you're coming further down and you're going to shift back, landing on that back heel, and then shifting forward, rounding, pulling to come up. Let's do one more time here. Maybe that foot steps into a little bit of a different position. Rounding, shifting, grab on with your toes to the floor. If your knees pop a little bit, that's not a bad thing. We're moving through adhesions here that happen because we don't bend our knees enough. Shift forward, slowly come up, shake it out. See, we already did like what? 15, 5, 10, yeah, probably around 15 squats. Look at that, easy breezy. So let's do the other side, left foot forward, right foot slightly back and turned out. You're going to bend the knees and we're going to squat and squat and squat. And your squat could be here. Don't worry about it. And slowly round it back up. If you can, obviously, you're going to go down and maybe there's a shift happening back. And then shifting forward again, keeping your round to come up. You can't obviously stay upright. It's much harder. You're the boss, you're the judge. What's right for you? Maybe you do one upright and you do 2 or 4 in your forward bend, but see if you can find that little bit of shifting happening here. Guess we'll do one more. Yeah, I can feel my legs too. Excellent. Very good. Shake it out. Take a little moment. Put your hands to your hips and let's just finish up with some nice little hip circles here. Another great one. Getting a hula hoop and hula hooping. Shifting the pelvis to the left. So now my upper body does go to the right. Pelvis forward, pelvis to the side, upper body to the left. Now we're going to try something. Can you shift to the right and take your upper body to the right as well? Head, ribs. Totally bizarre, right? Finish your hula hoop, other direction, hips to the left, take your upper body to the left. Maybe you can lift a leg up. Maybe your upper body goes to the right. Keep hula hooping. This, or salsa dancing, right, is so good. Everybody should salsa dance or merengue, or let's do one more time the other direction. Because if your pelvis can move, your head doesn't have to. Observe it. This is, I would say this could be a bit a homework of, until whatever I see you again. And let me know, like, do you feel like you're moving with your head to walk? It would be a great observation and to know what you're doing. Awesome. We're done. Thank you so much. Check in for a moment, just standing, see that actually maybe more readily you're standing with your knees slightly bent. and more connection down to the floor, I would assume there's way more activity happening in glutes, in the hamstrings, and potentially in your abdominals. All right, thank you. Thanks for playing, and thanks for dealing with me and my squirrel. I'll see you soon. Bye.